Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics. In this video, I like to discuss the news that the government has expectedly lost its judicial review against its own public inquiry into the pandemic. There's not going to be an appeal, if it was even possible. It means that the government have said that they are now going to comply fully with the inquiry, which means handing over all those documents. This is likely to be a problem for Rishi Sunak. After all, if it was not going to be, why would he have resisted doing this? But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel. So, when Rishi Sunak became Prime Minister, he promised, amongst other things, accountability. Do you remember that? I don't think Rishi Sunak does. Then, earlier this year, the COVID inquiry, which the government set up, they set it up, they appointed the people, they asked for documents from the government, records, WhatsApp messages, files, all that sort of thing. And Sunak insisted that he was cooperating with the public inquiry in the spirit of candour. Oh, yes. Well, the inquiry's asking for all these documents, though, and you're not handing them over. Ah, yes, but I didn't mean we should hand over documents which might be personally embarrassing to me. Of course not. Sunak has tried to argue that it should be for the Cabinet Office to curate the documents. He said, well, we don't want to give them irrelevant documents. I mean, they've got very important work and they only want to see relevant information. So I'll tell you what, we will filter the documents. We'll go, oh, no, that's not relevant. You don't need to see that. And the inquiry has said, no, hang on, we will decide what is relevant. We will decide that. And that's the whole point of a public inquiry. The entire point of a public inquiry is that the investigation is carried out separately from government. Governments do carry out investigations into various things, and usually it's fine. But sometimes, if you have to carry out an investigation where the government itself needs to be scrutinised, you don't mark your own homework. So you have a public inquiry so that the public can have confidence in the findings, that it's not being interfered with by the government. I mean, the government already get to appoint the people in charge of it. I mean, that's as much interference as they can expect. There's no issue with national security either, because the senior members of the inquiry viewing these documents will have had the highest level security clearance and signed the Official Secrets Act. Being honest, legal experts didn't really think the government had much of an argument, and the High Court is obviously of the same mind. The judgment makes clear that the Inquiries Act 2005 gives the inquiry the legal power to determine what is and is not relevant. Not the government, the inquiry. The government has now said, oh, of course we will comply fully with the court ruling. Now, as I say, I don't know if it was even possible to appeal. Maybe they could have appealed to the Supreme Court. I don't know. But it seems that Sunak's not going for it even if he could. It'd be quite a tricky situation he would find himself in, I suspect. See, on the one hand, he now looks quite shady for trying to stop the inquiry seeing documents to which they have a legal right. He's trying to claim that, oh no, we were just testing it, you see. We were, the court ruling has said that we were quite right to bring the case so that we could, test this issue. All right, yeah, okay then. So he's claiming no skullduggery was intended. We were just testing the extent of the law. Okay, fine, whatever. But that would be impossible, of course, if he'd fought it further. So he's now sort of, He's had his judicial review. He's going to claim that, we were just testing the waters. But given that experts in public law were all satisfied that the government would almost certainly lose the case, and they have on every point, I would suggest he still looks dodgy for having tried. The judgment acknowledges that sometimes, yes, in the course of an inquiry, they might request documents which are irrelevant. That might, they may end up taking receipt of documents which are irrelevant, that are not giving them the information they're after. But the judgment notes it's not for the Cabinet Office to decide what is or is not relevant. And if the Cabinet Office believe that some documents being requested are irrelevant, they look through them and go, well, that's not relevant. No problem. There's a process in place. They make an application, what's called a Section 21 application, and they send that application to the head of the inquiry and they will decide. That is the upshot of this. If the government were intending to hide away any records which would be of public interest and relevance to the inquiry under the guise of, oh, no, you don't need to see that, it's irrelevant, sorry, they're not going to be able to now. What will now happen is the inquiry will request records. The government will go through them and go, well, we don't think you need to see that. But instead of going, no, we'll just put that to one side, they now have to write to the head of the inquiry, Baroness Hallett, and she will say, I will be the judge of that, let me have a look at them. Then she, not Sunak or anyone in the Cabinet Office, will decide. So what now? Well, it may well be that the judicial review was just a delaying exercise. It may well be that all of the government lawyers said, look, we're not going to win this. They've just done it as a delaying exercise. Didn't delay it very long because, as is common in cases of urgent public interest, it was fast-tracked to be heard very quickly. But they could now further delay by making lots of these Section 21 applications to argue that various records are irrelevant. I imagine that will slow the process a bit. It will mean we're spending more public money on lawyers trying to cover Tory arses, but it's not going to allow them to block anything. What's interesting, of course, is that Boris Johnson throughout all this has supported the inquiry's moves. Oh, let them see it all, let them see it all. And the right-wing press as well. No, they should be able to see it. Does Johnson think that there'll be no records handed over that don't embarrass him? I would suggest that seems unlikely, given that he was Prime Minister at the time. And he may be imagining, we know that an awful lot of the WhatsApp records at the time, from the key period, are on this phone that he's claiming he can't hand over. Now, I'm not sure that if the government really wants that phone, they will get that phone. But the thing is, the WhatsApp messages were sent to people as well. And their records are going to be curated now and sent to the inquiry, aren't they? So his messages, his WhatsApp messages, will still end up going to the inquiry if they request them. The political dimension to this will be interesting. In terms of the timing of the general election, I am increasingly of the mind that the Tories would be better off going to the polls this autumn. Said that before. But I think they don't agree. I think they want to hang on until next year out of sheer desperation, hoping something good comes along. Now, my thinking that next year will be even worse for them is not just because the economic situation is likely to worsen. We may end up with an actual recession. The impact on voters, certainly, especially with mortgages or rents, is going to be worse. But with each passing month, more will emerge from this COVID inquiry. That, for me, is always what's in the background. Every few weeks, there's going to be something come out. And there's the chance that something comes out that will be really explosive. By leaving the general election for another year or so, Sunak is inviting lots of opportunities for something really quite scandalous to be revealed. And it doesn't matter whether it puts him personally in the frame or not. The people are not just voting between Rishi Sunak and Keir Starmer, but the Conservatives or Labour in terms of that national government. And of course the information would come out anyway, whenever the general election is, but risking it doing so just before he intends to call the election. Imagine he's just in the situation and go, right, we've got our landing zone prepared. This is our best chance. I'm going to call the election. Saying to his cabinet, I'm going to call the election. Then there's James Cleverly doom scrolling on Twitter goes, oh no, you'll never believe this, Prime Minister. You'll never believe what's just come out of the COVID inquiry. Snookered, completely snookered. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.